This Week in 40K.
Welcome to This Week in 40K. I'm Colin, and he's Billy. Good morning, everyone, evening, whatever time zone it is where you are. This is the show that is your weekly update on the world of competitive 40K. We like to say it's the show about the grimdark that's neither grim nor dark. What's going on, Billy?
Not too much. I think the most important piece of news that happened this past week that everyone's dying to hear about is the fantasy football matchup between our two teams, which was dominantly won by mine. And, you know, if you have any thoughts or, you know, messages.
Yes, I believe I told you that I was, in fact, not good at fantasy football. And in fact, every decision that I made about who to start was wrong. So I demonstrated my ability.
I left Raheem Mostert on my bench. But this is not a fantasy football show. This is a show about
and I have nothing to say about you winning. Congrats. You clicked buttons better than me.
There we go. That's what I need. I need false praise for a truly meaningless achievement.
And drafting Christian McCaffrey was a real gamble for you, obviously.
Okay.
So could we talk about 40K now?
We can.
Excellent.
As I titled this show, you know, it's sort of normal out there. We kind of have a normal meta that's won by a wide spread of armies, and armies are coming out. And I don't want to be too Pollyannish, but dare I say 40K might be in a good place.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we saw that at Charity Hammer, honestly. I think that we, you know, especially how wrong people's brackets were. I think, you know, we had massive upsets on brackets, and I think that says a lot about people making decisions based on lists and also on players that, you know, we don't really know about. So from Charity Hammer, I was surprised at how good orcs are. I think that orcs are an amazing army that has a few really bad matchups. The game I played with Guard made me feel like they were better than maybe people are giving them credit for. So yeah, there's some armies out there that aren't getting a lot of attention that I think have been boosted up some. And then I'm blown away by Tau. The amount of offensive power that Tau has is comical, and they're fast. So I know that we have a really good Tau performance this week to talk about, but I think Tau and Votann are huge winners, and we haven't talked about either of those armies at all in 10th edition. So I'm pretty excited to see how that shakes out.
Yeah, but we will this week. Both of them won events that we're going to discuss. And just the other thing, because so many of our previous shows were, and Eldari won everything. Well, they did win some things, but not everything's. Which, you know, while some of us might have wanted vengeance and dumpsters, everyone should get to play with their toys. And the fact that you can still play with your pointy-eared toys as long as they're the good guys, not the bad guys. The bad guys still have kind of an issue. That's a good thing. And yes, PCG Scorpion Tetras apparently are part of the secret sauce, and that is a frustrating thing that they are Forge World only. But, you know, fish people can only have so many nice things. They just have to keep swimming upstream.
Right. So, okay, let's head to our top story, and we'll have a fairly normal week.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Our top story.
Story, Billy.
This was supposed to be what's new, right? Not top story. We just talked about top story.
No, we haven't talked about top story.
We haven't talked about top story. Top story was basically the conversation we were just having. Is the normalness of 40K, the balanced, even meta that we are all currently experiencing.
See, I thought the top story was going to be Space Marines.
That's what's new.
Okay, hold on.
What's new?
I think the organization and the professionalism is probably why people listen.
Yes, but not our comical banter and general bonhomie good attitude. I would have put Space Marines as the top story if they weren't seemingly delayed for a week. There's very good information out there that they were supposed to be pre-released this past week with NDAs supposed to be lifted. and then something happened, and I'm not quite sure what that something was, but everything got pushed back a week. There was a big announcement on this past, whenever they do the pre-orders, I can never tell Saturday, Sunday, because I'm not as attentive to reading the community site over the weekend, that it's going to be a 2-week pre-release. So you'll be able to place your orders this coming Saturday, which is when the NDAs should go down. So you should know what is and is not good. But I can't remember if we got to talk about the Salamanders and what Raven Guard preview that came up, if that was between us and last week. We got some of the new factions. We're still waiting on confirmation of the others. And they've just been telling us a lot about how models are designed. It's all of the kits that we saw in Nova. So on the one hand, we got great previews very early on and have been able to salivate over these models for about a month now. The flip side is that limits the amount of things they have to preview to get us excited again when it's time to actually reach into our wallets. They did a good showing of the sprues today, at least on Sterngard, talking about all of the hats that are available. But for those of us who can never remember whether beaky helmets are Mark 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, the fact that they had the helmets turned the wrong way in the sprue, so you can see the back of the helmet, not the front, was not the most helpful thing that the marketing department has ever done. Colin, off the top of your head, do you remember which Mark beaky helmets are?
Well, it's not that I don't remember. It's that I have a profound lack of caring.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So that is information that went in and then got flushed. My brain went, we don't need to know this. Gone. Now, that doesn't always work. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there are things that I don't need to know that get trapped forever, but that's not one of them.
Fair enough. Are you a pro or con beaky helmet kind of player? Or just
I think they look cool. I don't know that I want to do a whole army with them. But I think doing a unit with them is pretty neat. And I think I've used them as in my Dark Angels army, which isn't the models I use currently. But in my Dark Angels army, for a while, I did sergeants with beaky helmets.
That's a good one.
And I liked that because, especially in earlier editions, you had to know who the sergeant was. It was really important. And I hate people not wearing helmets in battle. It drives me crazy. So, so that's what I used to do.
Yeah, I'm in the pro beaky helmet side of things. I agree with you on model differentiation. But yeah, just, one more piece of evidence that the people in the marketing department might not be the most avid players of the game.
Let's talk about the competitive impact of Space Marines, because I think it's important. So my concern when Space Marine rules were previewed originally for the 10th edition launch was that Oath of Moment seemed way more powerful than anybody else's army rule. Mm-hmm. And then Doctrines seemed crazy.
Yep.
So now we're in a situation where a new book is coming out and they have that detachment and a bunch of others. So how are they going to get us to play the other ones? Well, first of all, I think that they looked at the army and said, the way Oath of Moment is written, this army will be too focused on single target forever. Mm-hmm. And so they took wound rerolls off of the Moment, and people are considering that a nerf. I don't think it actually is a nerf. I think it's a design decision. Mm-hmm. And I think that those are very different from each other, because what that's going to be, and I've heard some rumors from people in the know about this, so in the Tyranid book, very few data sheets changed. Right. It sounds like in the Space Marines, significantly more data sheets changed. And a lot of them were buffed in order to overcome the fact that wound rerolls are gone from both. So they took the power of. Now, I haven't seen the data sheets. We don't get early release content. I'm not under NDA. What it sounds like to me is that they have basically taken Oath, diffused it into the army, so that Space Marines in general are more fun. So that's what I think is going on with Oath.
Yeah, sorry. I the way you ended that second to last sentence there, I thought there was more to come. That sounds good. That sounds right. And my take on it is lockstep. I thought absolutely in the previews, I was saying on this show regularly, which is why you shouldn't listen to me, that nothing is as good as Double Oath from Bobby G from what we've seen. And I would agree with that still on what we've seen other than Eldar. I should have. But that rule is really good. But to your point, it pigeonholes Marines into, we kill one thing super dead and then everything else is kind of not as efficient as it needs to be.
Right.
What it seems they've done in the interim before the book has come out is they have cut Marine points so wildly drastically that you have a little bit of a horde army going on. I have in the Marine list that I'm tweaking around with, I get to play tonight, which is delightful. I have a lot of Marines that are 14 point per model units that are like good models, but that's just, that's a level of hoardishness that most is disconnected from, I think, what the design philosophy behind Marines should be. And so to your point, the individual data sheets kind of need the support of Oath in order to hit as hard as you want them to hit, absent a few outliers. So I would love it if they did bring Oath down, because no more wound rerolls, just hit rerolls, which, given how prevalently you can get hit rerolls elsewhere, is kind of making Oath almost non-existent. But if they just push that back out into the broader army, I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that as good as Doctrines are, I think that there's going to be other detachments that are also going to be viable for what we're seeing. And that's really exciting. I'd like to see a lot of different kinds of Space Marine armies on the table, and not just, we're also Ultramarines, which is what today is a lot like. I also think that they made Bobby G less appealing. So I like that. Excuse me. Oh, I'd like to see Bobby G on every table. It drives me crazy.
I just live for the day when Leman Russ actually comes back. I'm so upset that the Lion came first.
You meant the Lion, right? No one would care about Leman Russ.
Well, this is why you're a Dark Angels player and I'm a Space Wolves player.
Inside Billy, there are many wolves.
Probably. I just want someone who buffs my army that is a really cool centerpiece model. I have been consistent that centerpiece models are some of my favorite things in this game, and the fact that 2 of the Space Marine factions get to have them and the rest of us kind of don't annoys me. It's sad. But
at Charity Hammer, some people told me that that Santa's good now.
He is. I actually think Santa's been good for a while. Whatever event the TNG guys and Chuck went to this week didn't make it into our list, but I know Chuck finished in 4th place with Santa and his merry band of reindeer.
Okay, not Chuck. Chuck was not there. I don't know who you're talking about.
I'm sorry, Mitch, your other co-host.
Okay. Yeah, Chuck is very sick. He'll be fine, but he is not playing 40K right now.
My apologies. I'm only halfway through my cup of coffee. Yeah, no, Mitch 4th place with I think he had something like 18 or 19 Thunderwolf Cav in his army.
Sure.
I still have no idea how that doesn't lead to a massive traffic jam. But I'm trying out at least 5 Thunderwolves in my army tonight, so we shall see. I thought, the thing you said about Doctrines, based on what we've seen, to my mind, a lot of armies want one of the Doctrines, and specifically either Assault or Devastator, to advance and charge or advance and shoot. And we know that some factions are just flat getting those. To my mind, the thing right now that's most appealing about Gladius is Bolter Discipline. Bolter Discipline is kind of a busted enhancement. What it can do right now with aggressors is disgusting. And that's what I'm going to need to see matched in the other detachments personally, in order for my insert type of Marine here to not just be cosplaying as Ultramarines.
And math-wise, it does matter that wound rerolls are gone from that, just so everybody's aware. It is a reduction in damage that unit does. We also don't know that the points are the same for that unit. There's lots we don't know about that unit. I would hope that is not the thing going forward. That would be my hope. The thing about Doctrines that's interesting is that I thought that as well. However, in my Dark Angels list, I use all 3 plus stratagems every game. And so, and like my captain has I'm in Tactical Doctrine all the time, perk enhancement, and he's with the Deathwing Knight unit, and that's incredible. That's so good. You get use out of it at least once a game. Anyways, I'm excited about Doctrines the way they are today. I think there's an incredible amount of variety. The thing is that each of these detachments is going to have different enhancements and different stratagems.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, everybody has Armor of Contempt, but other than that, there's a great deal of variety. So what that's going to do is tell us what sorts of other armies you can build. I've heard that there's a Dreadnought dance party stomping its way with some oons behind it on their way to the meta. Like you can hear them in the distance, oons, as the Dreadnought dance party approaches.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds like the anti-vehicle or the vehicle buff and auras are pretty crazy for the we're not actually Iron Hands detachment. We look like Iron Hands, but we're not actually Iron Hands, that detachment.
Mm-hmm.
So Dreadnought Dance Party is certainly cool. We'll see if that's fun. Dreadnoughts are currently like the undercosted thing. So that's pretty logical. I think it's interesting if the White Scars version is all advanced in charge. I think it's interesting to see how good that actually is, because in Gladius, you get advanced in charge once per game, and then a CP gets you it on a unit.
Yeah.
Any other time, that might be enough to play close combat Marines. You might not need to advance in charge on every unit every turn, unless they make melee units better than they currently are. So, I mean, yeah, I don't really know what to think of that. I think it's going to be. I know that I'm going to play a bunch of games with the different detachments and see what I enjoy. However, my current Dark Angels army is really, really fun, and I don't see that changing. However, no wound rerolls hurts the Deathwing Knights a lot because they're only strength 6.
Yeah.
And usually I give them +1 to wound, but then the wound reroll on that is I give them the Lance strat, right, and then that gets them to 5s against some targets, a lot of targets, and then re-rolling is kind of what makes that up. So yeah, I think that's a pretty big blow to the Deathwing Knights, but we'll see.
Yeah. One last thing on this, just because we have enough time talking. So we've talked specifically about like what we're interested in Space Marines. I think just it's worth mentioning broadly that Space Marines are most likely going to level up in terms of the tier that they're in. And what that means is you're going to see a lot more Space Marines because every enfranchised player has some sort of Space Marines army they can pull off of the shelf.
Yeah.
And that's going to throw a monkey wrench into the overall meta because right now you really don't have to super account, or at least prior to the data slate, you did not have to account for Loyalist power armor. Having to do that is going to be something to consider in army composition.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that we're also getting a lot of variety from Marines.
Yeah, it looks like it.
And I think that I'm hoping we do. I hope it's not just Gladius is better than the rest of them. And the advantage of that is that different Marine armies make the meta more interesting.
Yeah.
I don't mind playing Marines at multiple tables if they're literally doing different things from each other. So I'm hoping that that's where we're going to be at. As much as I get annoyed at new Marine models all the time, this is a really important release because this is the widest swath of their player base that they're going to address at any point in a 10th edition codex. And so it's really going to be fun to see how the players react to that. I'm really excited about it. I have a practice weekend this weekend. I was hoping that we get leaks before then based on the NDAs. We'll see if I'm right. But I'm intending to play a game with new Tyranids and a game with new Space Marines.
Oh, that'll be fun.
On Sunday.
That'll be fun.
Because on Saturday, I'm evidently going to the Bigfoot Fest here in the Pacific Northwest, where I'm helping work a booth for my wife's stores, which should actually probably be a hoot because I like the weird Pacific Northwest stuff. Like, I like all the Sasquatch related. I don't know what the word is. Paraphernalia. Paraphernalia. Is that what the word is?
It is a word. Yeah, it works.
It is a word.
It works.
So yeah, that should be kind of a hoot. And then my football team is playing on Monday Night Football, so that means I get to play all day Sunday playing 40K without missing out on the Seahawks, who have been, 66% of the season so far. They've been really fun to watch. 2 out of 3 games for those that don't watch football.
Yes.
So
I was going to ask, is part of what you're doing as Sasquatch because you are a man of certain dimensions, not just putting on a suit?
Costumes are really hard to purchase when you're my size. I do own
that a Bigfoot suit would be one of the few exceptions.
Well, I do own a fitting gorilla suit. Because at one point I needed a costume for a party, and I'm like, let's just be a 6.5 foot tall gorilla. The problem with the gorilla suit is that it was unbelievably uncomfortable to wear. So I went to this Halloween party, and it's like It's like, it was like wearing the hairiest, warmest, bad material outfit that you ever could.
Oh, yeah.
And somehow, despite the fact that the fur was only on the outside, the fur was itching me somehow. Even though the fur was on the outside, somehow it invaded the structural integrity of the suit. And then the mask was hot and sweaty. So I'm like halfway into the Halloween party, and then suddenly Collins is walking around in sweatpants and a t-shirt.
Yeah,
Like, I'm like, no, I don't care if I win any awards. We're not doing this anymore.
That's fair, but at least you didn't get sent back to a reclamation project in Africa with another gorilla in the cage because, God, who is it? Because Al Franken couldn't read a shipping manifest. Trading Places?
No, I knew it was Trading Places. I was trying to come up with a quote to go with that, but I didn't have one.
Just Beaks. Where is Beaks?
Yep. What is it? Pork belly futures.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. For any of the youngs who don't know what we're talking about, Trading Places is my personal favorite Eddie Murphy movie, but it's certainly in the top X of anyone's list. Go watch it. It's hysterical.
I would agree with that. Okay. That actually isn't my worst decision Halloween costume. In fact, a girlfriend and I did a couple costume, my only time doing a couple costume. And I did Dexter, from the TV show with the appropriate Dexter Ed Hardy shirt, and then the apron and the gloves. And then my girlfriend at the time, we put her in a skin-colored leotard and then wrapped her in cellophane.
Ooh.
So that it looked like she was on the table getting cut up from Dexter. And it turns out, people may not know this, but it turns out wearing an outfit built out of cellophane is awful. It does not breathe. Who could have known this? That the cellophane outfit wouldn't breathe. And so, first of all, she's getting snacks, and she says to me, the cellophane skirt keeps riding up. I basically feel like I'm naked. And I'm like, well, that's terrible. I bet you're uncomfortable. And then a little bit later, her whole face was red, and we're like, wait a minute, your body is literally not breathing. So, anyways, Halloween decisions. It is the end of September. It is topical, according to the retail world, to talk about Halloween.
Yes. So the 3 rules, I think there are 3 rules of Heilman family costumes. You have to be able to sit, eat, and walk in your costume. These are hard-learned lessons from when 2nd grade Billy tried to create his own robot costume and could do none of those 3 things.
Fair enough. Now, will a costume be acquired for the baby?
Yes. My wife's favorite holiday is Halloween, and as a result, we are doing it up, including at some point in the next month, I have to go to Costco and get that 20-foot witch that, if anyone's been to Costco recently, they've seen. I will be a chick magnet, and the 3 women in my life, including Lilu, will be little chicks, and they will be attracted to me.
Well, that's adorable. Let's be clear. First of all,
they make baby versions of that too. She's going to be a little chicklet. It's going to be quite cute.
And you may not know this yet because your kid's too young, but taking kids trick or treating is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's like top parenting. It's really cute and really fun, and you get to see all the other kids, and all the neighbors are friendly to each other. It's a lovely tradition. I don't know if it's great where everybody else lives, but I've always thought that it's a really nice. We're all in our houses being taught not to like each other. I think it's a really, really silly and neat holiday.
Well, and we finally live in a neighborhood and a house, and people are going to trick or treat. So we're very much looking forward to that. Anyone who lives in San Rafael, come to us. There will be candy. They
don't know where you live, and don't tell them. Okay, let's move on to what's winning. Unless there's anything else we need to talk about that's new in 40K.
If we've digressed to Halloween plans, I think we can move on.
Okay.
What's winning?
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes began. Okay, sorry. Okay, so I'm excited about this. This means that. What? What's wrong? Can you not hear me, Billy?
Oh, I was just saying Colin's excited for Halloween, but now we're out of sync. I can hear you. We're just out of sync.
Okay, I'm not actually excited about Halloween. I actually am driven mildly crazy at how early retail turns us into new holidays. But I don't know. It's been a rough last week or two since Charity Hammer's been pretty rough, and I'm sleepy. And I just thought it'd be more fun to talk about than 40K. but now we're back to 40K, which is a really fun topic to talk about. And we're going to talk about one of the most fun tournaments in the country, the Flying Monkey Con 2023 in Wichita, Kansas. Flying Monkey Con is a long-time tournament. Those guys are well known. They had War Games Live out there, so I know you can see it on their stream. He told me that he was headed there when he left Charity Hammer. I'm like, oh, no weekend off for you. So it had 34 players. I bet that's the largest their tournament's ever been. I don't know that, but it's an educated guess. And it was won by Eldari, but it's fair to point out that it's Ben Sherwin, and he is one of the best players in that area. So, maybe it's Eldari, maybe it's the general. It's hard to tell. We have to be, as the meta changes, we now have to be really careful about how we talk about that. Because as the meta gets more balanced, the competency of players becomes a bigger factor. Like, the way I think of it is at any one time, you have a percentage of the game that is luck. You have a percentage of the game that is player skill, and you have a percentage of the game that is list design. And list design incorporates how good the rules are. Okay. And then competency matters, and luck does matter. But more than dice rolling luck, I think pairing luck at tournaments is what really matters. I think, especially at 5-round, 30-ish player tournaments, a lot of the time the person that won is one of the best players there, but they're not the best player there. They just had the best path. Mm-hmm. So I've certainly been that guy where at the end of the tournament, I won and I skipped all the S tier. Like, I've certainly done that before and been like, this is weird. So anyways, let's talk about lists from Flying Monkey Con. Ben Sherwin, longtime accomplished Eldar player. He did, in fact, take Eldar. I'm really excited for when we can read the detachments and they matter, Billy. But this is shockingly a battle host. So he's got the Autarch Illic Solitaire Incarn. The Solitaire is interesting for 115 points. That's a little bit of variety there. He's going 3 Fire Prisms. Most people have been going 2. Night Spinner, sure. 2 units of Shadow Specters. They're still crazy for their points. Is this pre-points? No. Weird. I thought Shadow Specters were more than 95 for 5 now.
No, I still think that was an increase over what they were, but yeah.
Okay. Swooping Hawks, Warwalker, 2 units of Warp Spiders. MSU, all the good data sheets. Nothing much to talk about here. Next up is Cody Giroux from the Denver Mountain Trolls. And he also had Eldari, sorry. And he had a Farseer Skyrunner, Illic, and Yvrain. Not the Incarn, not the Avatar. Then he has no Fire Prisms, which is pretty neat, because he's Ynnari. He has a Night Spinner, a unit of 10 Rangers to go with Illic, I presume. Yep. 2 units of 2 Sky Weavers. He's going with the Haywire. I actually really like these, Billy. I don't know if you've had anybody play these against you, but when you deep strike these or attack reserve them and let them kind of come in wherever they need to be, it's kind of an interesting amount of shooting and durability dropped into different parts of the board. I actually have been enjoying that the way that works. Striking Scorpions, and then 2 units of Warp Spiders. And then for his Drukhari portion, he's got 2 Beastmaster units, 105 points for those. I don't know if that's a good deal. I presume it is. And then he has a unit of 10 Kabalites with all the stuff, Mandrakes, Raider, 3 Ravagers, and Scourges. Now at Charity Hammer, I was told that Yvrain can't actually party boat in the Raider with the Kabalites.
That's not my recollection, but
nor mine.
Okay.
But I haven't had a chance to look at it because after Charity Hammer, there's a to-do list. And I was part of the second tech layoff of the year that I've been part of. So I'm looking for work. But I had heard that, and that surprised me because I thought that was the whole point of her in the.
Yeah, I'd have to do more digging. I can figure this out by the time you finish talking about the 4th place on here.
Well, the problem is that she doesn't have the right keyword to go into the Raider or the Phantom. That's the issue.
But I think she says specifically that she's allowed to.
That could be. All right, I'm going to continue on. 3rd place is Tyranids. This is exciting because the book has come out. Let's see if it's a new one. It is. It's Invasion Fleet. It has it says Big Bugs or Best Bugs. This is where Nidzilla will be. It's not going to be in Crusher. It's going to be an Invasion probably. Death Leaper, Neuro Tyrant, Old One Eye. At 140 points, Old One Eye is pretty funny. Barbed Hyrule, Biovores, then a unit of Carnifexus, probably to go with Old One Eye. That ends up being a 400-point unit of Durable. Durable and Smashy. It's pretty funny. I've played with it. It's pretty entertaining. 2 Exocrine. At 135 points, Exocrine are pointed in the I can't believe it's this silly price tier, just for those that are Tyranid players. Harspecs for 125. Norn Emissary, 2 of them, 290 and 290. Norn Emissaries are very expensive. They're also extremely durable and OC 15. So you just put them on an objective, and that's a big part of how you win with Tyranids right now if you want to play the big bucks. So I think this is a super dope list. I think we're going to see a lot of different Tyranid stuff coming out. I could tell you that my Tyranid friends think that Nexus is actually best, not Invasion. Okay.
Really quickly, did some looking, and I actually think that that's right, that she can't go in the Drukhari transports.
That's so weird.
Unless there's a rule like outside of what's in the app that someone can point me to.
Fair enough. Hey, it's a Dark Angels list, and it's called Thick Boys. And it got 4th place. I bet Thick Boys. Oh, sorry. The Tyranid list we just talked about was John Indelicate, who is John Indelicate, fan of the show. John, you're a legend. So glad to have you doing well. Congrats.
John in the
Dan
chat
Simmons.
Right
what?
John's in the chat right now.
Oh, hi, John. I got your last name correctly in honor of you doing well. Terminator Captain with Adept of the Codex. That's the always intact doctrine thing. Librarian. No Apothecary. Interesting. He does have 3 aggressors, but not 6. 10 Deathwing Knights, 2 units of 3 Eradicators. I really like the unit of 3 Eradicators. I tend to attack reserve them, have them come on at weird angles and blow things up. 2 Plasma Inceptor squads. Actually, these are one of them's Plasma, one of them's Assault Bolters. Neither option is wrong on the Inceptors. Infiltrators, 2 Predator Destructors, which I don't know anything about, but they appear to be double las cannon autocannon for 130 points, which I don't hate. Ballistic Dreads are, I think, 140 and just more durable and have better guns than that, is a comment I would make as a Space Marine player. Then a Scout Sniper unit, soon to be gone, and 2 Whirlwinds. Really expensive for 2 of them, but 2 Whirlwinds, and then an Eversor. Certainly a good list, some good variety here. Excited not to see Ballistic Dreadnoughts. Sad to not see a Land Raider. So that is the Flying Monkey Con 2023 from Wichita, Kansas. Next up, we have Warzone Houston 2023. I know that Warzone sometimes does their own missions and their own terrain. If that's the case, I apologize. I don't know that for this tournament.
I pulled up the player pack. It says 10th edition 40K Leviathan rules.
Oh, okay. This one won by one of the other Collins, Colin McDade, who was playing Tau. I think we're going to see a lot of Tau going forward. I think that they are very fragile, but that just means that they're going to need to be played by extremely good generals. Colin certainly qualifies as that, as does Donald Plummer, who's out here and was at Charity Hammer and did well. So it says make Tau great again, which okay. Commander Farsight, Commander Shadow Sun, 2 commanders in cold suits. I love them at 25 points, Billy. One's at 125 because of an enhancement, and one's at 110. Their shooting and their durability are pretty funny at 110. So broadsides are crazy. Million guns, very, very durable. He's got 4. He's got 4? 3. He's got 3. And then 2 big units of Crisis, a Ghost Keel, Kroot Hounds, 2 Piranha at 55 points. Piranha's durability and shooting are extremely good. Stealth battle suits do a lot of really good tech at 60 points, and then Tetras are basically mandatory now at 80 points apiece. I basically love Tau. I think this is a great list.
Yeah, let me jump in really quick, because while it does clarify that they used the Leviathan missions, they did not use Leviathan terrain. They used 2 terrain setups, and I would very much like to play Tau on these terrain setups.
Good to know. Speaking of gun lines, second place is Guard. And Guard was done by Robert Moreland from Big D Energy. I enjoy that name. And he also had guns. Gaunt's Ghost for 100 points is a really good unit that does a lot of great things. Guard players, go look. Solar, Platoon Squad, Regimental Engine Seer, those are all good utility pieces. Then he's got 2 Cadians and 1 infantry squad with 2 Chimeras. I think that if you're going to rock guardsmen in Chimeras, you might as well make them Catechins and have them have double flamer, but fine. 2 Chimeras, 2 Hellhounds. Hellhounds make targets ignore cover. That's a really big deal. They're also really good damage and mobility and durability for 125 points. I still think that Russes are a little overcosted at 200 points when you consider that a Rogel Dorn is 260. Yeah. He has a Russ and then a Rogel Dorn. The Rogel Dorn I actually think is better value for points. However, the Lehman Russ Demolisher has a powerful cannon, and the problem with the Dorn is its best gun is strength 10. So if you take Dorns, you then are making a guard army that can't deal with T12, so you need Demolishers in your list. He also has a Shadow Sword, which just got nerfed pretty handily by not being able to Overwatch. 1 unit of Temestus Scions and a Calidus Assassin, obviously, to do the things. So that's guard. Third place is CSM, and I've lost my list of people here. CSM is Jorg Bobkov. He's from SF40K. Is that you guys?
No. If it is, I'm unaware of it.
Santa Fe, maybe?
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Okay. Well, I don't know where Colin McDade lives, or I could guess. But
I think he's somewhere in Texas.
Okay. Next up is Chaos Space Marines, and it's got a Dark Commune unit, 2 of them for 55 points, 2 Masters of Possession, 1 unit of Cultists, a Rhino, 2 units of Accursed Cultists. Those are the units that grow back. I love those. 2 units of Chosen, perfectly good units. Forge Fiends are really good right now, 2 of them. 1 unit of 4 Obliterators. Obliterators are one of the big things you're seeing in Chaos. 2 units of 5 Warp Talons, Nurglings, and 1 Blue Scribe unit. 10 blue horses, I think what that is.
No Abaddon?
I didn't see him.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. No Terminators, only 4 Obliterators. This is actually pretty different from what the meta Chaos CSM looks like. Usually you see at least 8 Obliterators. 4th place is Joni Velasquez, who we've talked about before, with Death Guard. Death Guard just got a significant buff to their points and their contagions. Death Guard, Sorcerer, and Terminator Armor, and then Typhus. Then 1 Spawn, unit of 2 Spawn, which obviously is good to do things. Then a Hellbrute, 2 units of 5 I forget what army I'm talking about. 2 units of 3 Death Shroud Terminators. Oh, sorry. Line break there. 3 units of 3. Then 3 Foetid Bloat Drones. 3 units, a unit of 3 Mythic Blight Haulers. 3 Plagueburst Crawlers, 2 Poxwalkers, and Nurgling. That is so many things.
Yeah.
What we saw at Charity Hammer is Steve Trimble brought back his 9th edition Cancer that was 60 Plague Bearers and Morty. Only now it's 60 Plague Bearers, Morty, and 7 Rhinos. So that's a thing.
To be clear, Plague Marines, not Plague Bearers. If Plague Bearers could go in Rhinos, we'd have a whole different ballgame.
Well, it would be a worse ballgame, but yes, I'm with you.
It'd be a different one. Yeah.
It would be a different ballgame. So that's 4th place. We do have, just for fun here, this is a thing I meant to do. At Flying Monkey Con, 5 through 10 is Ultramarines, Eldar, Red Corsairs, Chaos, Tau, and Imperial Knights. So good variety there. At Warzone, it goes Necrons, Death Guard again, GSC, Space Wolves, Drukhari, and then Adeptus Custodes. So really good variety in the top 10s from the 2 largest tournaments of the weekend. 17 minutes to you.
I can fill it. I can fill it with a little bit of elbow room. Let's go around the world to Agder, Norway, and the names are reasonably delightful, which is one of my favorite parts about doing this. This was WTC scoring. It was the Invasion 40K 2023 out of Agder, Norway. 84 players, 6 rounds. Won by a man whose name was so good he had to use it twice. Eric.
Oh yeah, Eric from Norway. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably not actually how it's spelled, and they just did a nice thing in English for us. But Eric brought Votan. So this is the first time Votan.
Hold on. I have not seen this list, correct?
I don't think so.
Billy, does this list have 30 Dwarf Terminators in it?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's hear that. Yeah. That's what I think the super terrible to play against meta Votan thing is going to be. So let's hear what he did instead.
To be fair, he
she did instead.
Eric
okay. They're really good.
So an Iron Master, a Champion, 2 Calls, 10 Warriors, 6 Thunderkin, 20 Hearthguard, who are the Terminators, 2 units of 3 Bikes, and 2 Sagittars. It's short. I will admit there is one person who sort of plays Votan around me. I know next to nothing about them other than that all of the sudden they went from the most busted thing any of us had ever seen when they were previewed to not really enough to do anything to we start the game very angry at you right now. That's sort of my understanding.
Yeah, well, and they were very bad because of points, and now they're very inexpensive. So you're going to have a lot more dwarves. I'm excited to see this. And Chuck does play Votan, so I'll get a chance to see them soon, I hope.
Yeah, no. So congrats to Eric with first place in Votan. Second place, we have Nids. We can read a detachment type on this because there are options. This is a Vanguard used by Sveinung Knutson Noding.
Vanguard is one of the 2 detachments that are very janky.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of speed and tricks that way. The problem is that the things that have speed hit like wet noodles. So the Vanguard lists are very much like, I'm going to play the mission because if you have an army built a certain way, I can't do anything to it.
That is absolutely what this army reads as. Let's take a look. Death Leaper, 2 winged primes, Old One-Eye and a Flyrant.
Okay.
30 gargoyles.
Sure.
10.
By the way, gargoyles are one of the best data sheets in the game, Tyranid players. Keep going, Billy.
Solo Ripper Swarm, because they're cheap. 2 Lictors, 3 Neurolictors, 2 Pyrovores, 1 Biovore, and now the attempt to kill things. 2 units of 3 Zoanthropes, 1 Carnifex to hang out with Old One-Eye, and 2 units of 6 melee warriors to go with those winged primes.
Wow. And how did this list do?
Second place, 5-0-1.
Wow. That person is great at 40K.
That would be my sense too. There's nothing to actually hit and kill, but on the flip side, there's nothing that's particularly scary. They're just going to outplay you, and you're going to look down and be like, this board state looks like I've won. This scoreboard looks like I haven't.
Right. Neurolictors, by the way, are comically undercosted, as are Pyrovores.
Yeah, there's a lot of great mission playing tools in there, and Sveinung Knutson Noding took all of them. Next, in third place, someone who, based on their name, I was disappointed in their faction, Bjorn Olsen. Bjorn, you have Space Wolves just sitting there. You could play with yourself. It's just it's sitting there, man. You're from.
We haven't gotten to say the name of the guy that has the Catachin as his nickname in a while. Speaking of guard players, Anyways, go ahead.
Anyway, like Bjorn Olsen is from Norway, which, like, not to stereotype, but you're freaking Vikings, and Space Wolves are based basically on your peninsula. Your name is Bjorn. Just do a solid for yourself. That said, Bjorn Olsen brought orcs 5-1, and Bjorn brought a fun orc list. Yes, this is a fun one. Brought Gaz. We have not seen Gaz in quite some time, but I personally just always think it's fun to see Gaz on the tabletop.
Oh, of course.
Yes. Mad Doc Grotznik, 1 Pain Boss, 1 Weird Boy, 1 Zod Grod, 20, 10, 10 of Beast Snagas, 60 Boys, 20 and 10 of Gretchen, 2 Mega Knobs, a Mech Boy Workshop, 2 5s of Storm Boys, and 3 War Bikers. There are no transports in that. That is just Green Tide coming at you, want to punch you in the face. There's
things in there that I've never seen on the table. That's great.
Like the Mech Boy Workshop? Do you know?
I've never seen the Mech Boy. I've not seen the Mech Boy Workshop model in person.
Okay, hold on. We have enough time for me to pull up the app, and let's all read together what the Mech Boy Workshop does, because if I were prepared, I would know, but I'm not, so we're finding out together. It has a movement characteristic of dash. Toughness 9, 10 wounds with a 4-up save. It has Ramshackle, so it gets the benefit of cover. It's a fortification. Orc vehicles within 12 of this regain D3 lost wounds, and there are no vehicles in that list.
Uh-huh.
And while I have truly no idea what the heck this does, it might make his display board look better. It's 80 points. Cool.
Maybe it stands on an objective and holds it.
You know, it might do that. What's its OC? No, it's OC 0.
Oh, I don't know.
If anyone knows what Bjorn Olsen is doing with a Mech Boy workshop, please let us know and we'll fill you in later. Speaking of orcs, in 4th place, we had Jonathan Arkin with orcs. 2 beast bosses, Beast Boss on Squig, Mazrog, and a Nob on Squig, and then 2 war bosses.
John thinks you can hide behind it, potentially.
I mean, it doesn't. I would have to look really closely at the rules, but just looking at the model, it's just all open space.
Unless it's on obscuring terrain, I don't think it's that useful.
Yeah, I truly have no idea. So all of the characters, 2 10s of Beast Nagaboys, 4 trucks, 3 Def Coptas, which we haven't seen in a while, 10 Gretchen, 10 Knobs, 5 Knobs, 6 Piggies, and 5 Storm Boys. That's a little bit more what I personally would expect on the other side. A little bit of spice in the Def Coptas, but like dudes in trucks. A little bit of Gorka Morka back from the dead. So that was Jonathan Arkin, and that was the Invasion 40K 2023. Next, let's go down under to the Battle in the Bush in Orange, Australia. 74 players, 5 rounds, won by Igor Kalinin with Necrons. This is actually just looks like an old Necron list. It's got a Hexmark, Lord, Nemesaur, Oracan, and Technomancer, the Unkillable Catan, 20 Warriors, 10 Lich Guard, Reanimator, 2 Crypto Thralls, 5 Death Marks, 2 Doomsday Arcs, 5 Flayed Ones, 3 ones of Locust Destroyers. So 2 unkillable bricks, some stuff flicking around the edges, just standing in the middle and collecting all the points. This is an army that never wants to see aggressors on the other side of the table. And that aggressors just want to pick up all those dice about. Anyway, Woody Woo came in 2nd place, also 5-0 with Custodes. Woody brought Alaris Terminators. Terminator Captain, Valerian, 5 Prosecutors, 5, 5, and 3 Alaris Terminators, 2 Caladius Tanks, 5 Wardens, 4 Witch Seekers. I would commend Woody to look at the Allies detachment because Inquisitorial Henchmen and such will shave you about 40, 50 points off that list. Mm-hmm. But many, many, many Terminators. Mm-hmm. Good job, Woody. 3rd place, we have Dale Mann, brought Eldari. I'm just going to give Ben Jurek credit for this particular list archetype, although it does sort of suggest itself with the points. Avatar and Incarn, which is just fun to me. I think there's a lot of bad feelings towards Eldar, but if I saw the 2 Bash brothers on the table at the same time, I could not be upset. Along with a Wayleaper and a Farseer, 1 Hornet, 2 Night Spinners, 5 Shadow Specters, 5 Hawks, 2 Warwalkers, 2 5s of Spiders. To my mind, the thing you're seeing with Eldar right now is they are much lighter in the pants than they used to be. The points have really got to them, and they're just way fewer tools. So they have to actually...
I think lighter in the pants might mean something else.
It means this too.
Okay, excellent.
And then in 4th place, more orcs, this time brought by Kyle Pearson. 2 Beast Bosses, 1 Mazrog, 3 War Bosses, 20 Beast Snagaboys, 60 more boys, 6 trucks, 1 Battle Wagon, 20 Gretchen, and 5 Storm Boys. Saw what Lucas was doing at WTC and said, I want me some of that broad action. Good job by Kyle. Red Ram. John is saying that that the Mech Boy thing gives cover to his army. And there you go. John, thank you. This is why you win events and I don't, and why we're always glad to have you in the chat. Last event to talk about today is the Armed Forces Day 6 in Lockport, Illinois. There's some suggestion that this might have been an online tournament, but it was listed as being in Lockport, Illinois, so I'm not quite sure. 65 players, 5 rounds, won by Tyler White with Guard. So Colin, get excited. This one's an interesting one. Solar, Deathcore Marshal, and a platoon command squad and a Primaire Psyker. 6 Cadians, 20 Deathcore, 5 Scions, 2 Manticores, 3 Dorns, and 3 twos of Scout Sentinels. 3 Dorns.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting because 3 Dorns is a lot of beef for someone to try to deal with. I think that this army is going to really struggle into T12 as per the problem that I mentioned earlier. But they also are T12. So it's a bit of a different approach. It would be neat to see how that went. I've not seen Triple Dorn on the table ever. So at the very least, that's neat. As much as I like Russ's, the Dorn is a much cooler tank model.
Yes. Well, one of them was designed one of them was released in 2023, and one of them was released in the 90s.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Earlier, well, maybe the 90s, yeah.
Yeah. And there was at least a version of the Russ, and it hasn't been meaningfully updated.
Right.
The second place, speaking of things that have been around for a while, Pajama Pants came in second place with CSM. So there's a name from the community. CSM, this one is fairly straightforward. Abaddon, 2 Dark Communes to go with their 2 Accursed Sid Cultist blobs, 10 Legionnaires to hang out with Abaddon, 1 Forge Fiend, 1 Hellbrute, 4 Obliterators, and then the Spice, 3 Venom Crawlers. Venom Crawlers still good, not quite the obnoxiousness that were beating me up in every practice game I played with my friend in 9th, but still good. Third place, we have Derek Glassman, also with Guard, 2 Guard in the top 4. The world is
he might be a glass cannon.
No, this one's a fairly well-rounded army. So not just leading with Derek's chin. Lord Solar, Platoon Command Squad, and Ursula. 10 infantry, 2 3s of armored sense, 1 Earthshaker, 2 Hellhounds, 2 of the aforementioned Leman Russ battle tanks, 1 Manticore, 2 Scout Sentinels, 10 Scions, a Calidus, and an Eversor. So sort of just...
Was that the Demolisher Russes?
I think it wasn't, but I have long enough to check while I'm telling you a little bit about Matt Lamore in 4th place, because Matt brought Chaos Knights, and those armies are easy to talk about. It was the all dogs version: 1 Stalker, 6 Brigands, 2 Huntsmen, 3 Carnivores, and then some Chaos Demons to do stuff, 2 units of 3 Nurglings, and a Changeling. You want to know if Derek Glassman's Leman Russes were the Demolisher. I recall looking at them and thinking that it wasn't, but BCP is loading fast enough that we can find out. Leman Russ Battle Cannon, 2 Plasma Cannons. Last Cannon, Hunter Killer Missile.
Fantastically with Strange. Okay, good on him.
Yeah. So that's those are all the events. We talked about a lot of armies. And in one of these ones that, like, the next place was Sisters. So, Sisters and AdMech probably bottom of the barrel right now, but I at least saw
a
few of their lists. This is a widely diverse metagame. Some things that want to punch you in the face, some things that want to shoot you off the board, some things that just want to score all the points. Have a plan for everything.
Yeah, and seeing Eldar do really well, but only at 1 tournament, means that there was probably reasons for that. So let's see what happens over the next few weeks. All right. I think, is London GT this weekend?
I was trying to figure that out. Let's do London GT 40K 2023.
Because I think it's this weekend.
I think so too. It should.
So that'll be our first kind of New World 10th edition meta analysis. It'll be really interesting because that'll be a huge tournament.
Yeah, and huge tournament populated by players who will do the most busted things they can think of and really care about winning. So this is PCG Scorpions, as my memory is right, and it is this weekend. Okay, well that'll be
all right, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be back next Tuesday for another This Week in 40K. I really appreciate everybody joining us. I know Billy does as well. Next Monday night is Seahawks football. If you're a football fan, the Seahawks do really entertaining things on Monday Night Football. But for now, he's Billy and I'm Colin, and because someone has to be. And we'll be back next week for This Week in 40K. Bye, everybody.
Have a good one.